This is the Asus EeePad Transformer Prime, and this is an Android tablet. In fact, it's an ice cream sandwich tablet. This is the first ice cream sandwich device that we've got our hands on, so this is actually kind of exciting. And you know, it's one of the first few that's on the market today that you can actually even buy. So this is kind of cool. It's kind of a milestone, if you could call it a milestone for Android devices. But why they call it a transformer is because, you know, when you use it with this dock right here, it's called a mobile dock, you know, it transforms into a laptop or an ultrabook, or like it's really thin. So that's kind of that's the interesting thing about it. In fact, most of the time, you know, people will actually think it's a laptop, and if you actually have this dock, most of the time you will end up using it as if it was a laptop. So because of the form factor and stuff like that. So yeah, let's start with taking a look at the hardware of the tablet itself. The tablet itself comes with a 10.1-inch display at 1280 by 800 pixels, so that's kind of slightly higher. That's 720p, so that makes it a very nice high-resolution display. And the cool thing about this is an IPS Plus. They call it an IPS Plus display. So what is so brilliant about IPS is that it's super bright and it has a really wide viewing angle, which is really important for a tablet, because, you know, you're going to be holding it. It's not always going to be in a fixed position in front of your face. So having an IPS display is a really good job. And the IPS Plus does a good job at allowing you to see it outdoors. Because Asus designed this tablet to work together with the mobile dock to look like a laptop, this is probably one of the most beautiful backs that a tablet actually has. So you've got this really nice finish, and you notice that most of the places, you know, you don't find like in other tablets you'll find like printings and stuff like that. You actually don't find them, you know, very prominently on the back, and they're all kind of a little on the corner right here as a form of a sticker. In fact, you can totally peel off the serial number and all that. So again, that's because, you know, they want to make this really clean and pretty, which they've done a really good job. In fact, it looks just like a laptop bag. Over here, you got the 8.0 megapixel camera with autofocus and LED flash. It's got a pretty huge aperture of f2.4, so one of the cool things is that you're starting to notice more and more products with large apertures in their cameras. So the camera qualities on mobile devices today are picking up and getting better and better. And this is a micro HDMI port, so you know, when you connect it to a dongle, you can connect it to a HD TV, and not just any HD TV, you can even connect it to a 3D HD TV, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, on why it's capable of doing that. On this side here, you have a micro SD card slot, so for expansion. Over here you got the 3.5mm headphone jack, as well as the speaker, and the speaker is actually not too bad, except that of course when you use it as a tablet, which you won't do very often, it kind of gets a little bit covered. So, but the good thing is it's kind of slanted this way, so the sound is actually not too bad. And on the bottom here you have the dock connector. So another thing that's finding a trend, tablets nowadays are starting to go into these proprietary dock connectors, very similar to what you found with the Samsung Galaxy Tabs as well as the iPhones and iPads. So this dock connector allows you to connect to you know, your computer, or as well as to charge, and it is a USB cable. But just like all the other tablets apart from the iPad, you cannot charge this by connecting the USB cable straight to your computer, which again is a little bummer. By the way, the reason why this dock connector is found here is because this is also the same connection that's going to be used to connect the tablet to the keyboard. So over here you find these little two holes. These two holes are used to hook onto the keyboard. There are rubber caps that are provided for you to seal up these two holes if you do not intend to use the keyboard. So that was the tablet itself. So now let's talk about the mobile dock, the keyboard dock itself. One of the things I'm really very impressed with is how Asus made this whole entire package so seamless. So the moment you dock it in, you really can't tell that the tablet is removable, apart from, you know, this little switch here that you can pull to eject the tablet itself. But otherwise it looks just like an ultrabook. You know, it's really thin. You look at that, you know, all the spaces, they just fit really well, and it responds and works just like a laptop as well. So you kind of, the moment you open it up, the screen turns on, and you know, you've got yourself a trackpad and all that kind of things. Well, let's talk about what the keyboard does for the tablet. So over here you have an extra dock connector, so since the one is taken up by the dock itself, and what this one does, apart from allowing you to connect the tablet itself to your computer, it also charges both the tablet and the keyboard. I'm saying the keyboard because the keyboard comes with a built-in battery, and what it does is that it extends its 12-hour battery life, which by itself is kind of impressive, to 18 hours. So it's got an 18 hours battery life when used together with the tablet itself. So that one's pretty cool. So you can see an indicator right here that's showing that it's charging, and it will charge both at the same time. And on the other side, you will find a full SD card slot. So once together with this, you will have both a micro SD as well as an SD card slot. So that's in even more expansion options for the tablet. And over here is a USB port which you can use to connect almost anything really. You can connect thumb drives, you can connect a keyboard or mice, and you can just do that by removing the little rubber cap here. And what's kind of cool about this USB port is that it will even charge devices. So you can actually charge your iPhone with this particular USB port. The only thing is that you'll only be able to charge it when the tablet is on, so that's kind of a quirky thing there. So I guess it was not designed to do charging, but it just happened to be able to provide enough power to charge your mobile phone when the tablet is turned on. This keyboard is custom designed for Android, so you can see some of the keys here. This is the back button that you'll always find in Android, and over here you have the options to turn your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on and off, a touchpad on-off switch, and I will show you why this is a very important key. You've also got a home button over here, which basically sends you to the home screen, and a search button and a lock switch. So this is a very interesting lock switch. When you push this button, it actually doesn't do anything. So what it does is that when you do push it, turn it on by pushing this button right here, what this button does is that it simulates this action of unlocking it. So just push it like that, and now the screen is unlocked. So that's all it does right now. And when you push it again, it locks the screen, it switches off the screen. So but it doesn't actually turn it on, which is a little bit of a bummer. Fortunately, Asus did do something to make up for that, and that is by giving you the ability to turn on the tablet in two other ways. One is the most natural way of all, and that is by just lifting the tablet up, and you can see that the screen is automatically on. So I'm going to switch it off again. The second one is by using the trackpad. So you just push a button right here, push the trackpad, and the screen will turn on as well. Speaking of the trackpad, I've actually learned something interesting from this trackpad here. The trackpad is actually quite big, which you would think it's a good thing, but do you know how in the past when we were playing with netbooks, we always complained about how the trackpads are quite small. So Asus did the other way with this one. They made a big trackpad, and the problem with the big trackpad is that when you are typing, because the keyboard is, even though the keyboard is not very small, it's small enough for your hands to be very close to each other. So when you're typing, there are a lot of instances where you accidentally touch the trackpad, and when you do that, it sends the cursor somewhere else, and basically that makes your typing go haywire, which is really annoying. So that's the bad thing about having a trackpad that's this size. Fortunately, like I mentioned earlier, there is a very handy switch right up here on the keyboard that turns the trackpad on and off. So when you're typing, you just turn off the trackpad and you can just keep on typing, and then you wouldn't have any more problems. So let's talk about the keyboard, the typing experience. The size of the keyboard is actually not too bad, because they followed it according to what you'll find on typical netbook. And the only thing that is not too comfortable for me was the fact that because the keys are very flat, they had to do that so that the tablet closes flush against the keyboard itself. So as a result, the keys do feel a little bit squishy. I was hoping for a little bit more tactile feedback, but again, keyboard is something that depends on your personal comfort level. So this is something that I encourage you to go down and try it out for yourself. By the way, if you notice all of these Chinese and Taiwanese printings and all that, you might not find this in the unit that you purchase in Singapore, and the only reason why we have all these printings is because the unit that we are testing out right now comes from Taiwan. So that was the hardware. Now let's take a look at the software. Like I mentioned earlier, this tablet is running on Ice Cream Sandwich, which is also known as Android 4.0. And what it is that the main major difference with Ice Cream Sandwich is that they brought a lot of honeycomb stuff, which is the tablet stuff, onto the smartphone side of things. So for tablets in Ice Cream Sandwich, you don't really find much differences between this and the previous version, which is also known as honeycomb. There are a few differences though, so I can highlight to you right now. One of them is the ability to quit applications. So just by sliding like this in the multitasking menu, you can actually switch off manually quit applications, which you couldn't do in the past. And they've also improved the calendar application, which you can find over here. And they replaced the address book application with this thing called People. So it's a bit like a People Hub, like what you found with Windows Phone 7. Other improvements that they've done, you can actually now disable applications. So for example, in the menu here, Asus comes with this program called MyNet, which is basically a DLNA client and server. And you can go to the settings right here and go under applications, find the application that you want to remove. So let's say I'm going to go find MyNet, which is here, and say disable, and click OK. And now the application will no longer be in the menu. So it used to be over here, it's no longer there, which is great. So sometimes third-party companies or service providers like to add their own software, and if you don't like them, you can finally get rid of them. Want to bring them back, all you have to do is just find the application again and re-enable it, and now it's back in the menu. So this is a very nice feature. So let's talk a little bit about what Asus did to customize the device itself. One of the things they've done is that they've they customized the notification center, and what you can find here are the controls to the tablet itself, the tablet's display. So like I mentioned earlier, this thing has something called the IPS Plus, so right now it's not on, and switch it to manual. So the moment I turn on IPS Plus, you can see the display is a lot brighter right now, and I can boost it up even further, and now the screen is really, really bright. I can turn that off and bring the brightness back down. Over here I can controls to go for the power mode, so I can go like the eco mode. I have the balance mode and the full power, which will use a lot more battery, and I can turn the brightness, auto brightness on and off. The other thing that they've done is they've added a swipe-like on-screen keyboard. So to do that, I'm just gonna have to pull out the tablet, alright, and bring up the on-screen keyboard. And this is the Asus keyboard itself. So you say it's the Asus English US keyboard, but it works just like swipe, which is very amusing. But this, we don't know whether swipe is involved here, but basically, essentially, you have a swipe keyboard under the Asus brand. So that is something that is very interesting that Asus did. The coolest thing about this tablet, though, is that it is powered by an NVIDIA Tegra 3 chip. It's a quad-core chip, which makes this pretty insane. So, you know, it's a really, really powerful machine with quite a bit of power. So you can play really high-end games on this thing. Unfortunately, we don't have any on this unit itself, but you know, you can take a look at some pretty high-end 3D games. And remember I mentioned earlier that the mini HDMI port supports 3D. That's because if you connect this to a 3D monitor, a 3D display, you'll be able to play some of these games in 3D as well, which is really nice. Another cool feature that the NVIDIA Tegra 3 brings, apart from really high performance, is that it now supports controllers as well. So through the USB port, if you connect an Xbox 360 controller, a PlayStation 3 controller, or even a Nintendo Wii controller over Bluetooth, you'll be able to play games using the controllers themselves to control the games. That is very, very cool. So, and that's all possible thanks to the NVIDIA Tegra 3, as well as some of the software enhancements that NVIDIA has brought to this particular tablet itself. And that was the Asus EeePad Transformer Prime, a tablet with a keyboard accessory or a laptop with a touchscreen powered by Android, whichever way you want to see it. It is a very powerful device, and certainly a lot more worth it than purchasing just a cheap $500 netbook, because there's so much power when you combine the software and you know, whatever Android brings for you and the hardware, the NVIDIA Tegra hardware itself. So if you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/65bits, and give us a thumbs up to let us know that we're doing a good job, and visit our brand new website at www.tech65.org for all of our past videos and more awesome tech content. And until next time, we'll see you again. Bye!